It was one of those grey London afternoons when fog pressed against the windows, and the lamps along Baker Street glowed faintly through the mist. Sherlock Holmes sat in his chair, with his long legs stretched toward the fire, his keen eyes half closed, while I, Dr. Watson, read the newspaper beside him. We had been unusually quiet that day until a knock came at the door. Mrs. Hudson showed in a nervous-looking man of about 35, neatly dressed but pale and anxious. He introduced himself as Dr. Percy Trevelyan, a physician who lived in Brook Street. "Mr. Holmes," he began, "I have a most puzzling case, one that threatens my peace of mind and perhaps my safety." Holmes leaned forward, instantly alert. "Tell me everything from the beginning," he said. Dr. Trevelyan explained that he had once been a poor student of medicine, struggling to establish himself. His great skill was in diseases of the brain, but patients were few, and he could barely afford to keep an office. Then, 2 years earlier, he received a visit that changed his life. The visitor was an elderly Russian-looking man named Blessington, with a large face, heavy moustache, and nervous manner. He proposed a strange partnership. "I have money," Blessington had said, "but I need a capable young doctor. I'll furnish a house, buy the equipment, and pay for everything. You shall live there, take patients, and give me 3/4 of the profits. All I ask is that I have my own room in the house and be known as your resident patient." The offer sounded odd, but tempting. Dr. Trevelyan agreed, and soon they moved into a fine house on Brook Street. Blessington took the best bedroom, fitted it with extra locks and a strong-box, and kept to himself most of the time. Each evening he would lock his door carefully, as if he feared someone might break in. At first the partnership worked well. Patients came, money flowed, and Dr. Trevelyan became known for his skill. Blessington rarely interfered, though he was always nervous and suspicious of strangers. Then, about a week ago, something happened that broke their uneasy peace. "One afternoon," said Dr. Trevelyan, "I received a call from a man with a foreign accent. He said he wished me to treat a friend who spoke little English, and asked if they might come together that evening. I agreed. At the appointed hour, 2 men arrived, both foreign-looking, both polite. One was tall, with a long beard and dark eyes, the other shorter, broad-shouldered, with a thick neck and round face. "I am sorry," the taller man said, "but my friend does not speak your language. I will translate." They explained that the patient suffered from fits, sudden seizures, and begged Dr. Trevelyan to examine him. As the doctor leaned over to look into the man's eyes, the patient fell into a violent spasm, jerking and gasping. Dr. Trevelyan rushed to help, thinking it a real attack, but in the confusion the 2 men suddenly rose and hurried out, apologizing for the disturbance. He thought little more of it until the next day. Then Blessington burst into his room, pale and trembling. "They were burglars!" he cried. "They came to rob us! My God, they'll come again!" Dr. Trevelyan tried to calm him, but the man was beside himself with fear. He even asked the doctor to sleep in the housekeeper's room that night, saying he could not bear to be alone. Holmes listened intently. "And did they return?" "Yes," said the doctor. "Or at least I believe they did. Last night around midnight, I heard Blessington running down the hall screaming. When I reached his room he was shaking from head to foot. He swore someone had been in his room, that he had seen a man's face looking through his door. Holmes's eyes gleamed. "And you came straight to me today?" "Exactly. Blessington insisted I get help. He's upstairs now, locking himself in like a prisoner." Holmes rose at once. "Watson, fetch your hat. We'll go to Brook Street immediately." When we arrived, the house was quiet and well kept. Blessington met us in the hallway, a large man with frightened eyes. He clutched his dressing gown around him like armor. "Mr. Holmes," he said, "I've been robbed before and I won't go through it again. I tell you, they're after me." Holmes examined the locks, the windows, and even the carpet. Then he turned to Blessington. "If these men wish to rob you, why choose a doctor's house instead of a banker's? I think your fear is not of thieves, but of something else." Blessington's lips trembled. I cannot tell you. It's my own affair." Holmes looked at him steadily. "Very well, but if you keep secrets, I may not be able to save you." We left the house soon after. As we walked back to Baker Street, Holmes was unusually silent. Finally he said, "Watson, that man Blessington knows exactly who those visitors were. They are not burglars, they are avengers." The next morning, a messenger arrived breathless at Baker Street. "Come quickly, Mr. Holmes," he cried. "It's Dr. Trevelyan, something terrible has happened." We rushed to Brook Street. The police were already there. Dr. Trevelyan met us, pale and shaken. "Blessington is dead," he whispered. Holmes hurried upstairs. In Blessington's locked room, we found chaos. The drawers were pulled open, papers scattered, and in the middle of the bed lay Blessington's body, hanging from the ceiling by a cord. His face was swollen and dark, his eyes wide in terror. At first, it looked like suicide, but Holmes quickly shook his head. "No. This man was hanged by others. Look here. The knot is tied behind, and the chair was set upright afterward." He began to examine every inch of the room. On the carpet near the bed he found several fresh footprints. 3 distinct patterns. "One heavy square-toed boot," he murmured. "Another smaller, pointed. And the third, a man with a limp. Watson, these are the same 3 who came here 2 nights ago." On the ceiling he noticed something else, a small circular mark of soot. They hung a lamp there to give them light. This was carefully planned. In Blessington's cabinet, Holmes found an old newspaper clipping folded neatly. It told of a famous crime years before. The Worthington bank robbery, in which 3 criminals were sentenced to prison, and their 4th partner had turned informer. His name was not printed, but Holmes smiled grimly. "Blessington," he said, "was that informer. These men were his old companions, newly freed from prison. They came here to take their revenge." The police soon learned that 3 foreign men had rented rooms nearby for a single night, then vanished before dawn. A cab driver remembered taking them to the docks. The next day, a ship bound for Portugal reported that 3 passengers had been lost in a storm. "Justice," Holmes said quietly, "has followed them to the sea." As for Dr. Trevelyan, he was left with a house full of dark memories and a name he never spoke again. He went on with his practice, grateful that his own life had been spared. Holmes summed it up later as we sat by the fire. "Blessington's fear was his punishment, Watson. For years he lived behind locked doors, haunted by the men he betrayed. When they finally found him, they needed no court of law. He turned to the window, where fog still curled around the street lamps. "There is a lesson in it," he said softly. "When one builds his fortune on deceit, the past is never truly buried." And that night, even I found it hard to sleep, thinking of the locked door, the 3 shadows on the carpet, and the silent house on Brook Street where justice had come calling at last.